Hey, Clean Nation, Mike Campion here with Lindsay Bjorkland. Typically, we will do a AMA, Ask Mike Anything, and but today I had something I really want to talk about just with you guys, Cleaning Nation. I heard a couple people recently that reached out for help, and they said, you know what, we would have reached out earlier, but we were afraid you were going to make us do stuff we didn't want to do, right? We hear the podcast, and we're afraid that you would have us raise prices or fire some of our people or, do things differently. So I just wanted to talk about that for a minute, because I think where we get stuck is we try to make decisions in a vacuum where we go, well, I don't, and I'll just use raising prices because that scares some people. I don't want to raise prices, and that's going to be an uncomfortable conversation. So I won't raise prices, and we don't, and that's fine. If the life that you're living is the life that you want to live. But if you want to live something different, you kind of got to do the math of, well, do I want to have a couple several or maybe none difficult conversations, or do I want, and the price of having change is those difficult conversations. And the price of, I think what we don't count is the price of not having those difficult conversations, which is staying where we are. And which is fine. Like, we all get to pick that. So I guess the big encouragement I want to give is at least have the conversation with yourself or with a coach, whether it's us or anyone, whoever, ideally someone that kind of knows what they're doing. And a good coach isn't going to bully you, right? So just so you know, let's walk through. If you're like, well, I want to talk to Mike or someone on his team, but I'm afraid they're going to ask me to fire somebody or go W-2 versus 1099 or whatever the case, change my pricing structure, whatever, clean. We won't ask you to clean, but who knows what you guys are afraid of. So we just don't want to do it. And that's kind of akin to like, I don't want to go to the doctor because I might find out I got cancer. It's like, yeah, I know that the we don't want that, but the doctor's not causing the cancer. He's just describing it. And it's not a fun conversation to have, but ignoring it typically is not going to help. And ultimately, we are going to go to the doctor, right? Like, maybe it's on our deathbed, maybe when the pain becomes unbearable. So really you don't even get to choose that. Like, are you going to get help? And you're either going to do something different or live this life forever. And if you live life forever, typically you'll quit, right? So you could put off that. And that's the problem, is people usually don't quit. They do call, but they call when things are a gosh darn dumpster fire. And it's like, man, had we spoken 6 months ago or 3 months ago, or God willing, a year ago, this would all be done. Like, this would be in your rearview mirror. And we'd had so many good options, and you didn't have to do these scary things because things weren't bad. So we had lots of runway and lots of options, right? But now we can still get you sorted, but all the options are painful or scary, or they're not as good. So I guess the encouragement I want to give is, at least have a conversation, right? I think that silliness or the pride of, if I just ignore it, it'll go away. It's like, if by go away, you mean your business will shut down at some point and you'll just give up or quit, or you won't be able to make payroll one day. Like, yeah, that will resolve itself, most certainly. And if you're like, well, I'll deal with it when it gets here. It's like, well, then just shut it down now. Like, again, now you got options. Like, I promise you want to go to the doctor and he's like, hey, there's 3 or 4 options. We got a year to deal with this, versus like, you're going to die Friday. Like, your option is to make peace with your God and get your affairs in order. So all that to say, take action, have a conversation. Like, you're never going to be worse off with more information, right? Say you do talk to somebody, they do ask you to do something scary. Like, I'm not doing that. Okay, well, at least you've thought through what's the real price for change and what's the real price for staying the same. And you're like, I choose to stay this. Cool. At least you made a decision. Like, I'd rather go to the doctor and go, you've got cancer. We can fill your body with radiation, whatever, and maybe we'll get you 9 months. Or if you do nothing, you'll just probably die in 3 or 4. I'm like, maybe I choose the 3 and 4. I'm not saying you get to make your own decision, but not wanting the information because it might be scary is always the wrong answer, right? That's not, being underinformed is going to lose. And depending on the coach that you take, a good coach is going to bully you. They're going to walk through the costs, right? So, hey, Lindsay, if you want to do A, you'll likely get B. If you want to do X, you'll likely get Y. And then they'll talk through what's your goals and where you want to go and why those important and what are the unintended outcomes of doing the thing that I'm advocating as a coach, and what are the unintended outcomes of doing the things that you're advocating. You're like, well, I'm not advocating anything. It's like, you are. If you don't do anything, you're advocating doing the exact same goddamn thing and hoping for different results. So, and then we just align those costs of each, and you make an educated decision. So I'm going to let Lindsay kind of jump in because she's always got good insight, and I feel like I've been ranting for quite a while, but to tie a bow on it, the kind of two concepts I'd close with before I'll let Lindsay jump in with her feedback or thoughts or questions is, again, I got it first from Tim Ferriss. I don't know. I'm guessing he got it from someone else, but the quality of your life is dictated by the number of difficult conversations you're willing to have. I have found to be really, really true. And the longer you wait, the worse stuff gets. Like when I've had a difficult conversation or done something I didn't want to do, rarely have I found I was ever like, oh my God, I'm so glad I waited. Like the example I give is I had a speaking gig at the ISSA, and there was people going to be there from that were clients. So I got there like 2 or 3 hours early, which I usually don't do. And it was the most miserable 2 or 3 hours ever. Cause like I couldn't go faster. Like I'm like, just get on the goddamn stage or like don't. But this sitting and waiting and it was goddamn miserable. So as soon as, once I got on stage, it was fine. And before I got there, it was fine because I'm either not speaking or I'm speaking. But that like middle ground of I know what I need to do and I can't do it was miserable. Same thing with I need to fire this person. I need to have this difficult conversation or what I perceive is going to be a difficult conversation with my client or a spouse or a kid. The moment that you know that needs to happen, that whole time between when it happens and when is just, and it's one thing, it's like, it's painful and I hate it, but it gets better the longer I wait. It's like, all right, we can make that argument, but it's like, no. It gets worse the longer you wait and it's painful and miserable. So just want to encourage you, even if it's a wrong action, I would have rather got on stage and started stinking it up for a minute than I could figure something out than just sitting there doing nothing. Like nothing could change at that point. All right. I feel like it's been real ranty. We're 8 minutes in and Lindsay's just smiling and like, would you like a sock puppet here? Because that would be about as effective as me right now with all my thoughts. So Lindsay, we're going to let you actually use your out loud big girl voice and prove to the podcast listeners that can't see you on video that there's another human on this broadcast.
I am in fact here, Cleaning Nation, I swear. And Mike, I had myself on mute because I was literally on the other side. You could probably see me. I was just like, yes, preach. Like, yes. Man, it's so crazy that you brought this up right now because not on a business side, but in a personal side, with my family life, parents getting older and decisions having to be made. And without getting too into it, it's very similar. It's like we have to make some hard decisions, but the longer we put off those decisions, it ain't going to get easier, right? So it's just kind of a major life theme, right? So gosh, I have so many thoughts. One thought that I just wanted to bring to the table, just kind of organizing my thoughts, is I've found that doing hard things is building a muscle, right? Meaning that you can put it off in your head and all this mental angst and anxiety can build up. But the more you take action and your just major decision, your, what's the word I'm looking for? You're just going to have a tendency towards action over inaction. So the more you take action, even if it's a wrong decision and it's a crappy decision, or you try something and it doesn't work, at least there's movement. And otherwise, if you're just standing still, what progress can you make? You're just going to get more of the same of what you've been having and how your life and how your business has been coming at you, as opposed to taking the wheel and taking action. The other image, Mike, I'm very image biased.
Well, hold on, because you said two things that were really good, and I want to make sure I separate them because they kind of got glommed into one, but they're two very distinct and very.
Oh, okay.
Thing one is it's a muscle, right? So that you went over it quickly, but it's a big deal. So I think you covered pretty clearly. You can't steer a parked car, right? Even if with your family situation, if you make a decision and you're attentive and that decision isn't great, well, now you've got more data to make a better decision, which you couldn't have made no matter how much you talked about it or thought about it. You kind of needed that data. So it's unfortunate. We never want to do anything bad for our family, but it's like, well, if the cost of getting to the right outcome is a couple not ideal outcomes. It's either that or nothing, right? So I think you did a great job making that point. But the part that you said that I don't want people to miss is it is a muscle, and I can absolutely prove it. When I was, gosh, sophomore in, I think freshman, sophomore year in high school, I wrestled because my mom would let me play football, and all the cool kids played football, but I couldn't play football. And I was too afraid to play basketball, which I love. Still regret that to this day. So I wrestled because I don't know why. And it was god dang hard. Like middle of summer, they'd turn the heat up. So it was like 110 in the thing. Like it was just brutal, 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 brutal. And at the time, I don't know. I think it's because I want to be with other guys or develop a skill or, whatever. But that was like 30, 40 years ago. And that muscle that I built then still serves me today. So not only is it a muscle that you have to build. Like I didn't know when I was there, I was just a dopey kid. Like I'm hanging out with my buddies or we get to go to meets or like whatever. Right. And even just stupid stuff. Like I would kind of, I won't say half-ass it, and because I was pretty naturally decent, so I wouldn't go all out in practice because it's you don't know how long it's going to be, and they beat the crap out of you. So you're like, I got to kind of hold a little in the tank because you don't know what's coming. And we had a couple guys on the team that were older, seniors, that were like nationally like really good wrestlers. And when I didn't spar with them at the beginning because they would have just eaten my head off, right? So when I got a little better, I spar them, and they were all in all the time. Like I was used to other sparring partners, like, hey, let's kind of not sparring partners, but guys that you roll with, and they'd be like kind of an unspoken, like we're gonna try, but not 100%. Like come on, we gotta, we're gonna go about an 8.2. The good guys, they went 10 all the time, and that's why they wouldn't let me wrestle at the beginning because it's like you can go a 7, he's just gonna eat your lunch. That's all there is to it.
Let's
So
not kill Mike.
yeah, I'm glad they didn't. And maybe I thought they were at 10. They're like, this is my 7, dude. I'm taking it down a notch so you don't die. But to me, it felt like a 10. But two things I learned. One, that muscle couldn't have been built any other way. Had I observed the other guys wrestling, that muscle would not have been built in me. Two, I learned both ways. I saw guys that weren't at the top of their game and how and that was me. I was in that bucket for that period. And then I saw the guys that played differently and they got different results. So all that to say, like, well, great, Mike, I'm well beyond high school and I didn't wrestle and maybe I'm a girl that had no interest in wrestling, or I was a guy that had no interest in wrestling. Why is this helpful at all? Because I didn't know the muscle I was building. I thought I was building actual muscle because we go to the gym and blah. I was 145 pounds, not an intimidating fellow. Yeah, I read.
Bless your heart.
For those of you, yeah, Lindsay's met me. She's like, hey, he ain't seen 145 pounds in a long time. Mike Campion here. Do you ever listen to the podcast and go, this is great information, I just wish I could actually get it implemented and I wish I could get some help? Well, we do that. If you would like either myself or my team's help actually coming up with a plan that's specialized to you and your business, because with these podcasts, obviously we have to be very general and we can only go 20 minutes at a time. If you'd like to jump on a call with myself or my team, go to growmycleaningcompany.com/talk. We'll jump on a call. There's no charge. And we'll help you get some absolute clarity around exactly what to do next and how to do it. The reason we don't charge for these calls is the plan that we come up with, people want help implementing that. If that's the case, we're happy to talk about it. And if it's not, that's okay too. We're happy to just help you come up with a plan. So if you want to translate the information you're learning here into an actual plan that can change your life, give us a ring, growmycleaningcompany.com/talk. Love to either myself or have one of our coaches walk you through and actually personalize the content you get here to where you're at with your business. Talk soon. I didn't know the muscle, what I needed that muscle for. I was just building it. And I found whatever you're going through in your business at the time, it can feel like a failure or frustration or whatever. And then looking back, you're like, oh, I needed to go through that so I could have this. Or I thought that was the scary thing. I had no idea this thing that was going to happen a year later. And holy heck, if I didn't have the muscle built from going through this thing that felt big at the time that in retrospect wasn't, I would have never been able to get through. So you don't know what muscle you're building now. And the frustration is you're building a muscle either way. So if you're like, I'm just going to keep banging my head against the wall for another 3 months, 6 months, that's the muscle you build of just, I can tolerate pain and suffering for longer without doing anything different. Or you can go, God, this is uncomfortable. I'm gonna do the hard thing. Maybe it'll work out the way I want. Maybe it won't, but either way, I'll get the muscle. So I just wanted to encourage you guys because I think a lot of you are like, well, you guys say this, like take action, but that's just not who I am. It's not how I'm built. I can't do that. It's not, it's like, well, yeah, I'm bigger now because I eat a lot of food and I lift a lot of weight. So those are both my choices, right? My size. I'm like, I'm just who I am. I'm a big guy. It's like, no, you're a guy who lifts a lot of weights and eats food. So if you didn't do that, you'd be a little guy. So just want to encourage you. That's the muscle that you build. And I'm building both. I've got my lunch muscle by the bad eating habits I take, and I've got my muscle by the good weightlifting habits, and I got to own them both. So just want to encourage you guys. There is no like, I'm just that way. It's like, yeah, maybe I was born 20% more or less likely to be that way, but we all have to build a muscle the same way. Like, again, you can't go to the gym and be like, hey, trainer, lift those weights. You can. And I'm sure if you give money, he will lift them for you, but it's not going to get you any good. So at the end of the day, you get to build the muscle. You build the life that you want. All right. Back to Lindsay. Just you said the building the muscle, and I don't want to skip that.
Yeah, yeah. I think like another point I was trying to find the words for before, and I forget who said it to me. It might have been even someone on our team, but have a default in your life for action, like just always taking action. I love that. That was a game changer for me. Also, something I wanted to bring up, Mike, that you kind of sparked in this conversation is getting to, I think a lot of times there's fear behind inaction. A lot of times we know what we're supposed to be doing and what that action should be, and we're just scared to do it. Sometimes we're scared of like so many things, what other people are going to think about us, what happens if I fail. I love, you mentioned Tim Ferriss before. I love another podcaster. Actually, he's the Dilbert comic book creator, Scott
Scott
Adams.
Adams.
Yeah, and he has a great bunch of reframes on his podcast, he calls them. And one of them is he just got rid of embarrassment in his life. Like he just decided that whatever action he's going to take, he's never going to feel embarrassed about the outcome. So he is like more willing to do stuff that I think a lot of quote unquote normal people or normal business owners wouldn't necessarily do. And he looks brave, but in reality, he's saying, I'm just not going to let myself be embarrassed. I don't care. Even
And the
though,
people you're worried about probably aren't going to be at your funeral, and they're
yeah,
definitely not going to pay your mortgage if your choices don't work out. And the vast majority of the time, the people that you're so worried are going to judge you aren't getting the outcome that you want. Like the poor
right,
people are like, you can't spend money on hiring or marketing or a coach or whatever crazy business thing you want to do. That's stupid. Or I still God dang remember my first kind of, I don't say adult job, but like that wasn't waiting tables, semi-adult job. I got a job selling cars. I was so excited because the way it works is you get a percentage of the gross profit, right? So if you sell a car for 25,000 that they bought for 24,000, you get like 20% or whatever the case is, right? So it's $200. And this is in the 90s when, just double or triple all the money I'm saying, you'll kind of get an idea how much things are because of inflation. So I still remember telling my friends, all right, like the good guys they'll sell like 15 or 20, but you like the bad guys will sell like 8 to 10. And if each one's average like $200 before bonus or $300, I'll make like 3 grand. And at the time, minimum wage is like $5 an hour. So what's that? $1,000, like nothing. And they go, well, what if you don't sell anything? And I was like, they fire me. Like, this is the craziest thing that they said, or I wouldn't get paid. All my broke friends said the exact same goddamn thing. And they were all making $5 an hour, $6 an hour. Maybe a guy who was rich, he's making $8 an hour, like whatever. They all said the same thing. I could never do it. It's too risky. And I'm like, working for $8 an hour is risky. They can fire you just like they can fire me. At least I can get you know what I'm saying? If I'm crushing sales and making a bunch of money, the likelihood they fire me is virtually zero. And at least I got a chance to make a bunch of money. Like you're guaranteed to be broke. So I was a knucklehead when I was young, but that I saw immediately. I saw my knucklehead friends making $1,500 a month. And I'm like, I think I can make 5 grand a month or 4 grand a month. They're like, well, what if you don't sell anything? That was their first thing. Not, I was thinking that I'll want an application. Like, oh my God, can you get me in, dude? Like I was worried. I'm like, I'm new. I don't think I can get anyone yet. They were like, dude, crazy. You're nuts. And then when I started making money, they never said, they still never asked for an application. It was just the fear of the unknown. They were just so tied. And, selling cars, that's not glamorous, right? They're doing something sexy like construction work or something socially acceptable. So I think, our friend group was like, oh, that's a normal job for someone in our group to like the judgment, right? So they were like, oh, you can do that. But car sales, that's crazy. You can't do that. It's like, I'll just make 2 and 3 times what you make and be embarrassed. So just want to encourage you, A, they won't be at your funeral. B, they ain't going to pay your mortgage. And C, most of the
Mm.
people that you're afraid of being embarrassed in front of aren't getting the result that you want. So why would they even get a vote, right? Like when it comes to certain things, Lindsay's smarter than I am. So she gets a vote. Where like I'm interested in her thoughts. In other things, she doesn't know as much as I do. So I like her, but I don't listen to the, I'm like, not that I wouldn't listen, but she doesn't get a vote. I'm not gonna, I'm gonna weight it lightly. So just yes, you don't have to be embarrassed, and just realize these people aren't gonna be, again, probably at Thanksgiving, never mind your funeral. So why do they get a vote?
So good. So good. Yeah, what was I gonna say? Oh, fear of the unknown. That's another big fear you brought up. Like just not fear of what other people are gonna think, but just fear of I'm stepping into something I've never done before and oh God, what's gonna happen? Like I feel like as entrepreneurs, a lot of cleaning nation faces that a lot. And it's like, well, what are you going to do? Are you just going to stop and roll over and curl up like a dead bug? Like, no, like you got to do something. And for a lot of us in Cleaning Nation, I'm sure that just going out and getting your, like you said in your example, Mike, your $5 to $8 job. I don't know what that is today with inflation. It's definitely not $5 to
Probably the
$8.
same minimum wage it is now, like $15, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, what are you going to do? Are you going to just give up and do that? And it really puts things in perspective too. So,
Well, and that's the
yeah.
frustrating thing is I love that you said, are you just going to give up? I hear because we talked to them, Lindsay. Our
Yeah.
people, owners of cleaning companies, they're so proud. They're like, I'll never give up.
Mm-hmm.
I'll never give up, which is admirable. Please don't hear me knocking that. Comma. The way they're not willing to give up, I would say is risky the same way my no minimum wage guarantee job that I made double and triple what my friends were making was risky, right? Like give up means I'll just keep banging my head into this wall and being miserable for the next 10, 20 years. Like to me, that is giving up. So I would define giving, they say I'll never give up, like I'll never stop being miserable because I don't want to say I give up. Or maybe and in the back of their mind, like, well, at some point but they're really proud of I'll never give up. And I think you should be, but you got to define never give up properly. When you stop taking new actions and tolerate a life or a business that isn't for you, I would define that as giving up, right? Just
Mm-hmm.
like my friends defined no guaranteed minimum wage. And I'm sure they would have paid me minimum wage anyway for the 1 week and then fired me. But the no minimum wage guarantee was risky to them. I defined risk very differently. So I just encourage you, if you want to be proud about not giving up, that means working towards the life that you want, right? Like, God forbid I'm in a marriage that's not, I love my wife. She's amazing. But if I was in an unhappy marriage and I'm like, I'll never get divorced, but I'm a terrible husband and never try to fix anything. It's like, but I'm not giving up. I'm not divorcing. It's like, yeah, but is that,
On
and
paper.
yeah, on paper. And it's like, well, is that what, when you made your commitment to love and honor, is that what you know? When you started your business, you made a commitment to yourself, like, here's the life I want. Is this what you want? No. So careful about the never give up. And I'll use one more word picture. I'll turn it back to Lindsay. And I hate this one, but it's so point. I hate it because it's painful, but people get it. Unfortunately, many of us have had usually a female friend who's in a relationship with a guy who's not a good guy, right? And we can all see it. All the people that love her, her friends, her family, are like, this guy is not a good guy. And the sad thing is, she knows he's not a good guy. But the pain and suffering, sometimes physical, sometimes otherwise, sometimes both, that she's dealing with is still less scary than the new thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it stinks because just like we've been talking about, it's the thing, it's the same thing. We all know what's going to happen. He's going to kill her. I guess that's an ending. Um, or at some point she's just going to break and go, I can't. I god dang can't. And they mostly know it. It's one thing when they don't know, like, but that's rarely it. They know. They're just afraid, and it's so painful to watch. You be like, please, please come do. And it's like, no, I need more pain. I can't, not yet. I gotta get. It's gonna be better. And they're saying it to themselves, and they're hoping, but they know it's not. So the reason I share that, and I know it's kind of an ugly story, and I hate it, but we all see it so clearly with that person. But when we look at our own situation, no, 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 my business is going to get better. It's not going to abuse me anymore. It's going to start treating me right. It's all, I got a new software. I got a new VA. I got a new, I
Magic
signed up
bullet.
with
Yeah.
QuickBooks. Yeah. Whatever the case is, that's going to fix it. And it's like, Yes, because there's so many stories online of, someone doing one little thing like that and their life changing. All right. I keep talking over you, Lindsay, but you stop saying such interesting things that I feel I have to pontificate on. So we got to wrap, but I'm gonna leave the ball in your court. How would you tie a bow and kind of package this thing for our sweet listeners to help them take an action and take a look in what their life that they've been tolerating then and help them do the scary thing, even though that is scary?
Yeah, I say Clean Nation, if don't wait. This is and I know we already said this in this podcast, but it's so important. Don't wait until you're in the ER, so to speak. Don't wait until the pain
And we've
is,
had people literally in the ER. We've had people with panic attacks and stress where their body
yeah,
physically warned them. They're like, I have to take a seltzer bath every day after cleaning or whatever the case may be. And they literally land. So again, Lindsay was probably being a little facetious or using a little hyperbole. There's no hyperbole. Sadly, we've had people that have gone to the ER from cleaning. Yeah. So please continue. I just wanted to say, like, that's not an overstatement for, oh, come on,
yeah.
Lindsay, you're being a little dramatic. Like, sadly, she's not. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, sadly. No, don't let it get to that point, is what I'm trying to say. Is even if you're feeling a little bit of what we're talking about, it's probably not going to stop. Nip it in the bud, take some action, do something different, whether it's reaching out to us for help, finding a mentor, someone you can talk to, get a different view, get out of your own head. Also, my last little recommendation that's really helped me, I think Suzanne taught me this, I want to say, is look at the past of hard things you've done. I'm sure in your life, Cleaning Nation, you've done way harder things, birthed a baby, done probably not a guy, but done amazing things.
That would
Built
be pretty hard
houses.
for a guy. So yeah, that
Yeah.
would count if you pulled it off.
Yeah. And this is in the big grand scope of things, like your business should be fun. It should be exciting. You shouldn't be dreading it. Like being an entrepreneur is an amazing opportunity. It shouldn't be painful. So
Shouldn't
yeah,
be always painful. There's always going to be painful times, but
pain.
it shouldn't be
Yeah.
consistently painful. So gosh, Lindsay, I just love what you're saying. Exactly what we talked about before. How again, I'm 50. I wrestled when I was 14. I can't even do the math, but more than 11 years ago. And just now, I still look back and go, I did that hard thing. I ran Squaw Peak. For those of you, or Piestewa Peak, they changed the name because we're all very politically correct now. Those of you in Arizona or Phoenix that know what Piestewa Peak is, I ran that thing up and down twice. That was on a double day practice and then did a practice. And I can still look back and go, holy crap, I did that. So 1,000%. And that's a 30-year-old memory for crying out loud. Y'all probably done bigger stuff more recently. So 100% what Lindsay's saying. Think about the things that you've done before, as opposed to saying ridiculous. I'm not, that's who I am. I can't do that. That's not me. That's other people's. Like, come on now. That has been you. That can be you. When has it been you? Great feedback. Last thing I will leave you with is my favorite clients come in, and you think this would be kind of an attitude that a coach wouldn't like. I gosh darn love it. And they're not rude about it, but their energy is, hey man, I'm coming for help. And if y'all can't help me, I'll call another coach and another and 27. I don't give a crap. I will do what I'm going to win. And if you can help me, that'd be great. And if not, I don't care. This has nothing to do. Like that just gets me fired up. So borrow that energy from that guy or that gal that's like, this is going to happen. And even if they sign, and again, our people get amazing results, but say they did, and they're like, oh, I'm the one unlucky duck that this didn't work out for. Do they go, well, I guess coaches suck? Nope. Same thing. I'll find another one and another. I'll learn what I can learn from this one. And then I'll go find another one and another one. So decisiveness is such a big thing. And if you make a decision to get the results that you want, you know how you fix it? You make another goddamn decision. And if that doesn't do what you want, you fix that with another decision and another. Only thing that's going to be wrong is just being like, I'm going to put that decision off. No, you're not. That's a decision. I'm deciding to do the same goddamn thing and expect different results. That's a decision. All right. Preaching over. We love you guys. Please take some action. Hit pause. Don't listen to the next 71 of these without doing a goddamn thing. Hit pause. Take action. Reach out to us. Reach out to something. Have a chat by yourself to talk through this stuff. But take action today, even if it's scary, even if it's the wrong way. Head in a direction. You'll get better than doing the same thing over and over, hoping for best results. See ya. Hey, Cleaning Nation, if you dug the content you just got, we don't do any ads and I don't sell anything on this podcast, but if you would just subscribe, rate, and review, it would be huge and I'd be so appreciative. Not only is it going to help me, but you'll help other owners of cleaning companies across the world work less, make more, and get profitable. So if you appreciate the value we give, again, subscribe, rate, and review. It would mean the world to me. I'd really appreciate it. And we sure appreciate your time and attention.